Here we are then in one of the fastest growing cities in the United States, the fabulous Austin, in the great state of Texas. The circuit itself 14 miles southeast of the city centre and home to the US Grand Prix since 2012. The latest in a long list of iconic tracks to have that honour. We're racing today then in Travis County, Texas, around the 20 corners of the wonderful Circuit of the Americas. We'll be reaching speeds of around 200 miles an hour, and there are plenty of good opportunities to pass, especially through the two DRS zones into turn 1 and the very long back straight into turn 12. It's race day yet again, and joining me for a chat, Anthony Davidson. And our racers are certainly in for a rough day today. What will you be watching for as they go down into turn 1?
Well, the start of the race is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts. You have to hope that everyone is able to get off to a clean start, and this is possibly the trickiest part of the entire race. So many drivers in such a small space, and finding your braking point into turn 1 as well. It's a testament to the driver's skill that there aren't more incidents.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Charles Leclerc and Mick Schumacher. Ricciardo, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Raikkonen, Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda. Vettel, the owner driver, they've taken a grid penalty. Antonio Giovinazzi and Ocon. Stroll, Russell, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Nikita Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi. Sainz, Verstappen, Norris and Robert Schwartzman. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today we're back with another career mode video. Earlier in the week we had qualifying for today's race at COTA, and I can tell you the order has certainly been shaken up after that. We never got the results of Q2 and 3, of course being out in Q1, so the grid order certainly looks very spicy. We are going to analyse that in a second, but of course we are here, the penultimate round of the season at COTA. The title could be decided today. It could go to Valtteri Bottas, or we could have something heading into Mexico. And it looks like the only challenger really at the moment is Checo Perez. It'd be great to see him fighting this weekend. Two potential strategies here. Definitely prefer that one. However, this one here, if we took out the middle stint, I think medium to hard would probably be a better strategy personally. I really do think that. But clearly not. Bit of a weird one here. I was thinking medium to... What about medium to... Oh, this is a very difficult one. I think, actually, it's telling me the softs are going to be a lot quicker. That's a huge drop-off on the softs compared to the mediums. If we were to pit a lap earlier, we'd be looking at... Probably go with that. That is a little bit slower apparently. I think we'll definitely probably want to start on the softs. Let's have a look at the grid and see, and then from there in the race we might just follow other drivers, other teams, to sort of see what strategy, how our tyres are, whether we're going to go on to the hards maybe, or whether we might go on to do a soft and then a medium at the end of the race, or medium soft even. We're going to have a look at the grid, which certainly looks spicy. Well, when we look at the order, there's a couple of elephants in the room here. I think one of them being Mick Schumacher in the Haas. I can assure you guys he did go out in Q1, I think, just ahead of us. But somehow, he's P6, not taking any grid penalties. This is how many grid penalties we're getting, and it is absolutely throwing the order on its head. Perez lines up on pole. The bad news for him in Red Bull is that Mercedes, Bottas and Hamilton line up P2 and 3. Let's not forget that if Bottas finishes in P2 today, that is the championship. In fact, I think if he finishes on the podium, he has won the championship, maybe even P4. So Bottas, if he stays there, that's him. That's him done. That's his trophy at the end of today. It could be a title deciding race. This is going to be a spicy one, but Lewis Hamilton and Checo Perez have got a lot of work to do. Perez looking great. I was shocked to see the Mercedes not taking a grid penalties yet. I don't even know if they've taken any yet this season, or if they have. They certainly haven't taken many. It'd be great to see maybe if they take some in Mexico and no one else does, they could be back of the grid, and then there's a chance for the Red Bulls against them. But it's one Red Bull against two Mercedes. Mercedes can play games, undercut, overcut. It's Bottas and Hamilton v the Mexican who sits on pole north of his home country. It's going to be a very, very exciting race, I think, with that dynamic. Then Fernando Alonso, P4 for the first time this season. It looks like Alpine have got a really, really, really good chance at points. He's there. He's a lot of slower cars behind, quite a few. Alpine still yet to score. Alonso starting P4. There's no excuse today for them not to score. They need points. They haven't scored yet. This is their opportunity. Charles Leclerc, P5 on the grid. Really great to see him there. Way ahead of his teammate, the two McLarens, of course. Leclerc P5, looking to extend his lead, and in fact, could close up to the likes of Verstappen. He will be there to fight for a podium if there's any disasters in front. Schumacher lines up P6. He'll probably end up going backwards in the race in a slow Haas, but great to see him with a good position on the grid. Of course, after grid penalties have been applied, he starts P6. Ricciardo P7, solid starting position for him. He'll have work to do in the race to try and get past Schumacher and fight with Leclerc. Then you've got Kimi Räikkönen promoted to P8. It'd be great to see if the Alfa Romeo can stay there. They're also still yet to score points after last time, of course, when Räikkönen was in the points, then had a problem with his engine, and we had a collision with Giovinazzi that denied him a point. Both the AlphaTauris, frustratingly for us, P9 and P10. That's a total of 3 points. That would boost them 2 points ahead of ourselves. They're probably going to go forwards with slower Räikkönen and Schumacher in front. We've got to watch out for them. Then Sir Vettel, P11, pretty much where you'd expect him to be. We start P12, so thankfully we can get into the mix with the two AlphaTauris, which is going to be crucial for us in today's race. Despite taking a 5-place grid penalty, we sit P12. Giovinazzi lines up on the grid in a P13, very respectable for the Italian Alfa Romeo driver. He'll be looking to try and get redemption after Spa behind us. That could get a bit messy into turn one. Alpine of Esteban Ocon, P14. We want to try and get towards the points, help his teammate out maybe. Alpine need points. This is their best chance so far yet this season. Lance Stroll, P15 on the grid. Despite the low focus, starts somewhere decent-ish. Then George Russell, Nikita Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi round out the top 18. Sainz and Verstappen with a haul of grid penalties are P19 and P20. Verstappen will be out the title fight if he can't get himself up into the top few drivers. Sainz will be dropping away from Danny Rick in the Drivers' Championship if he can't get up there. Then Lando Norris and my teammate, both those two, also taking lots of penalties. Hopefully Lando can also fight up the field, maybe get a battle between him and Carlos Sainz. But what a grid. It's going to be pivotal for the championship. Can Bottas win it today? And of course, Alpine, can they take points? Schumacher, Räikkönen starting in the top 10, and our battle with AlphaTauri. Can't wait to get into this one. In terms of the tyres, we are going to go with the softs. Everyone else is on the softs. In terms of whether it's a 2-stop or a 1-stop, we'll debate that partway through the race. Have a think about that. It just depends on tyre wear, how we're feeling on the softs, whether we want another set or we want to go to the hards. I think we'll struggle on the hards though, because it's going to be quite a slow tyre to use here in COTA. If you haven't already, guys, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Totally free to subscribe. Really helps me out and allows me to make this content. But enough of that. Let's get into the penultimate race of the season. Here we go then. In Austin, in Texas, in the USA. 5 red lights. They're out and away we go. It's not the best of starts. It certainly is not the worst that you could have as we head up into the first corner. Ricciardo and Leclerc side by side. Schumacher and Alonso ahead of Hamilton. Gets very messy further back as we take a bit of this curb here. And we've got to really push along in this Grand Prix here. We're up to P8. It's Ricciardo and Leclerc in front. They're being held up by Mick Schumacher, who sits in the Haas, and you can see we're right onto the back of Danny Rick here, up into P8, but that is very costly here. And we've got an Aston Martin running alongside us as they, Seb Vettel, our rival, probably didn't leave enough space, but really stuck it there. And I think we still have Alonso ahead of the Mercedes, then it's the Haas, then it's Leclerc, then it's Ricciardo. Well, a high-paced start here at the US GP as we have a look maybe down the inside line, do we? No, we don't. We're just going to leave Ricciardo to sort of be. in the situation. We don't want to absolutely cause him loads of problems as we get too much lock on the steering, and that could be Pierre Gasly coming through. We can't afford for that. It's turning into a bit of a bad start if Gasly gets ahead of us. We needed to be ahead of the AlphaTauris off the start. That's exactly what we've done. Now we need to stay there as Leclerc pressures the young Ferrari prospect Mick Schumacher. Of course, Leclerc, a very good Ferrari driver himself. He has had some great results this season. He'll be looking to continue that today. But Fernando Alonso, P3 on the podium at the moment. As always then, the replay of the race start. He was starting P12 on the grid. An engine penalty infested one. And you could see it was a poor start for Lewis Hamilton. He was getting under pressure by Fernando Alonso, who went round the outside. We dive bombed down the inside line. 4 wide there. The two AlphaTauris and Kimi Raikkonen. We managed to get ahead of all of them. And then Leclerc sticks it down the inside of Danny Ric in front. Mick Schumacher sticks P5 ahead of Charles Leclerc. So really decent start for ourselves in the Grand Prix up into P8. Then Danny Ric P7, Charles Leclerc just in front. They're getting held up by Mick Schumacher. If we look higher up the order, Lewis Hamilton behind Fernando Alonso. That is going to be frustrating for him, and he'll need to get going unless there's a good chance for him that he might not be able to get anywhere near his teammate, and even a podium could be denied from him because we've got charging Leclerc from behind. We know he's going to be quick. But of course, Fernando Alonso, with a fantastic start ahead of the Brit, he'll defend from him as long as possible. Great to see the Spaniard up in the points. Valtteri Bottas P2, with Perez leading in this one. And then, of course, we had a bit of a fight with Pierre Gasly. If you look further down the order, Latifi is the only man to be overtaken by Norris. A poor start from Lando at the back. My teammate Robert up to P20. Carlos sits just ahead of him, with Verstappen making progress up to P17. What a start to the USA Grand Prix. Well, we sit on lap number 2, and Leclerc is really on the back of Mick Schumacher. So is, I think, Hamilton on the back of Alonso further in front, but Leclerc won't be able to really get Schumacher until DRS enabled, of course, at the start of the next lap. Slight issue, mate.
We're attempting to manage it.
Okay, that's a bit nerve-wracking. We don't exactly want an issue in this one. You know, as much as we've struggled this weekend, and if I was to probably pick a race out of all of them on paper for us to have a mechanical failure, this would be one, but we don't want one.
Okay, touch wood. Seems like the fault has resolved itself.
Oh, thank you. So you just told me we've got an engine issue, and then it's like, no, it's fine, it's resolved itself. But DRS enabled this lap. We were catching up to Ricciardo. Poor exit means we're not. But now comes Pierre Gasly. He sends it down that inside line, and he might get the move done here as he locks up into us. We lock up into him. Nearly, well, we nearly lock up into the barriers. And it's getting a bit too close here for our comfort as we look to send it down the inside line here. Just keep that move. That's dropped us away from Danny Ric, who currently sits in front in this one. But this is a frustrating one here as now Pierre Gasly has another little look at us. We're forced to fend him off, and it's costing us to Danny Ric, Charles Leclerc and Mick Schumacher in front. Well, lap number 4 here, and Ricciardo has gone ahead of Mick Schumacher as we charge along a bit, trying to catch up to those guys in front. We might see a replay of Mick Schumacher being overtaken by the Aussie of Ricciardo. He, of course, has dropped away from Leclerc after Leclerc got past a bit quicker. As it stands, the front two pretty close as behind. Gasly v Vettel. The battle between those two, of course. Vettel quite a chunk behind, and Vettel now drops behind an Alfa Romeo too, but it's going to be side by side, and he's just going to be able to stick ahead here. Lap number 4, we're starting to struggle a little bit, not really finding that groove that we found so many times this season. We managed to find that groove, put our head down and get some fantastic results, and it's just not coming today. Well, a lovely replay of this then. Lewis Hamilton versus Fernando Alonso. Hamilton dropped way back from his teammate now, sitting behind the Spaniard. He has a look. Does Hamilton down the outside line, down the back straight? Is he going to get the move done? There's contact there. Very, very messy and aggressive from Hamilton. He just about gets through to P3, crucial for him, because Leclerc is going to be charging with Fernando Alonso in P4 for Alpine. Verstappen dives down the inside line of Lance Stroll to take P16. He's making good progress. Carlos Sainz will be next to try and tick off the Canadian who are on board with right now. That was happening at the same time. Well, Pierre Gasly's having a little look at us, and I feel like we've broken a bit too late there. The car round here does not like it. It's sliding. That's Gasly in front, and we're risk from Seb Vettel. We don't have the pace.
Keep it up.
We simply don't have the pace here, as now Seb Vettel, we're going to try and force him to maybe send it a bit down the inside line of Gasly. There was a bit of contact there, I saw that. That you don't want. You really, really don't want that. Now, you've got to try and catch back up to Seb Vettel in front, really start to push in this Grand Prix as we're going to ride over some of those sausage curbs, you know. I don't think floor damage is that prominent with our damage setting, so we can sort of afford to really, really push over those sections of track to be able to get a good lap time here. But behind it, Tsunoda versus Raikkonen, we sit in the last points position, and we are really, really starting to struggle here. I feel like this is turning into Spain, but it's in the dry at the moment. It's a very similar type of race. Tsunoda is now going to have a little look at us with DRS. Shame we had to involve DRS in this, because it certainly isn't helping us. I'm just not really happy with it now as he comes at us. Here goes Yuki Tsunoda down that inside line. It's a little bit of a kamikaze dive bomb.
He might make a mistake.
But that is another Alpha Tauri in the points. Ourselves now out of it. And that is very, very frustrating here, because that is not going to help us in the constructors. And I have a feeling everything is going to be coming down to Mexico here, because I know how to drive this track. I feel like this is 10 times worse than it was in quali. I mean, there's literally no grip through this section of track here. So we're literally having to go wide. I just can't get the car where I want it. I don't know if it's the heat. I don't know if it's the fact I'm using quickly degrading softs. And now, coming at us will be Kimi Raikkonen. We should stay comfortably ahead here. Hopefully. He's not really got much pace compared to us. We've already used a lot of ERS in this Grand Prix, which is quite frustrating because we don't want to be losing out to others. But we're going all right as we can start to push this lap again. Probably shouldn't be taking too much of these curbs. Oh, holy moly. No, we shouldn't. I've learned my lesson now. I accept that. I should not be taking that much of those curbs. In front, it's Gasly and Vettel who caught up to Mick Schumacher. I don't even know if we're going at his pace. We're probably going about a similar speed, possibly even slower at the moment. Deary me, all over the place on the curves here. To make progress in this one from P16 up to P15. Now down that main straight past George Russell. That's him up a place. He's now going to want to check off Antonio Giovinazzi, who sits in front, the highest of those charging through. Norris still struggling P20. Sainz still yet to get past Lance Stroll. Replay then focusing on ourselves, struggling at the moment. Kimi Raikkonen behind us, the next in the DRS train, has a look down the inside line. Maybe, no, we managed to cover him off, but then we don't really get the exit. A little bit all over the place, and Kimi Raikkonen steams past us up into P11, and this race just goes from bad to worse here with Ocon trying to get in front of us in the Alpha. Great for us, but he has been making some fantastic progress as he gets in front of Mick Schumacher into the first corner, up to P7 with Tsunoda in P10. It's not looking too fantastic for ourselves in the Constructors' Championship. Lap number 7, I don't know if it's a combination of tyre wear, us not being that quick round this circuit, and a My Team car that feels absolute hell, but we are really, really struggling in this one. You can see the cars starting to slide a little bit through these sections. Ah, no!
What happened? Let me know you're okay.
Well, we're here on instant replay. Oh, I've just lost it, haven't I? We've just gone over this section. The first section, find the second section. I've taken the curb and I'm off into the wall. Insult to injury here. Look at this. Oh, we've just losing grip. I've taken this section, that's fine. This section, I've taken way too much of it and I'm off into the wall. Ah, what a shame. Well, we've seen what happened with the instant replay sort of view. Let's go and have a look. Here, we've taken a bit too wide out of there. We're starting to struggle with tyres at this point, and we've just gone over there, and oh, yep. My God, that's an impact. The front wing and both front wheels here. What a disastrous one. Let's have a look at it from another angle. Well, this COTA Grand Prix, from bad to worse, you can see, we just take way too much. What am I doing there? And that's us off into the wall. Both wheels gone. What a shame.
And so the celebrations begin, and well earned they are indeed. It may have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level, at the very top, is anything but simple. There's no catching them now then. We have a new World Drivers' Champion. That's it then for another magnificent United States Grand Prix. And they've hung on to take a sublime victory here today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
Well, then, we've been kicked out with the results of the race. Sadly, we can't see what actually happened after we DNF, because the replay mode only shows up to where you, sadly, crashed out, which means that we're left with quite an interesting order to analyse. And my God, is it a tasty order. Ourselves, sadly, didn't make it to the flag. Of course, we crashed out pretty early on in the race. Of course, Pierre Gasly for AlphaTauri, P9. He was running really fantastically, and then a stroke of bad luck means he went out of the race there. We don't know what it was, how it was, whether it was a crash, mechanical failure, probably mechanical. But Pierre Gasly for AlphaTauri, an absolute disaster for him. No points, and neither for his teammate Tsunoda, who dropped down to P11 by the end of the race with a charging Sainz and Norris. So AlphaTauri remained 1 point behind us, all to play for the final Grand Prix. But the man we need to talk about, Valtteri Bottas, he's done it. He has done it. P3 at the flag. A podium, yes, second on the grid, but P3, 15 points, and that secures the championship for him. He is the first championship winner on our My Team career mode. Remember that, people. Remember that. The first championship winner, the Finn, with 15 points today, secures it. Still, with 1/10 of the season left to go. A fantastic result for the Mercedes driver. But something else I want to point out, Charles Leclerc, P2 from 5th on the grid. When we crashed out of the race, he was charging towards the Mercedes. But, you know, he went for that one-stopper, and you can see the one-stopper paid off. By going for that one-stopper, he had to defend from Bottas, clearly at the end. Bottas on the two-stopper was just over a second behind, so really catching up to him. But 18 points for the Ferrari driver, and with a fantastic podium. Still yet, I think, to take a win. Maybe that will come sometime soon. But a fantastic result for the Ferrari driver, and I know I keep praising him. And you guys are probably fed up with that. Probably fed up with me going, "Ah, well done, Charles, well done, fantastic." But really, P5 to P2, a fantastic result. We take Danny Rick, of course. Similar machinery, P7 on the grid, by the flag, P6. But the race winner, Sergio Perez, pole, went for the one-stopper, won by 9 seconds, just dominated. Lovely, just lovely driving from him. 25 points for the Mexican, and that puts him in pole position to take P2 in the championship. In that battle, you have Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton, a disappointing Grand Prix, finishes P4 behind his teammate Valtteri Bottas, and that really is disappointing. 2 seconds behind him. We knew that Hamilton had to rival his teammate coming to this weekend, and he just hasn't again. Bottas has dominated the duo, and really, you know, we're not going to probably see Mercedes dominance for that many seasons, and they're certainly not really dominant this season, so for them, it's not that great of a result, you know. Hamilton certainly just had a really plain season. There's been nothing really special. Verstappen, P5 from 20th on the grid. Certainly what I call a driver of the day, plus fastest lap in there. Scores 1 less point than Hamilton. Meanwhile, Hamilton starts P3 on the grid. He starts 20th, both on the same strategy, but Verstappen executes it perfectly. Just absolutely perfected it. P20 to P5. That is incredible from the Dutch driver. Then, of course, Danny Rick and Lando Norris. Lando Norris really struggling to get up the order. Once we're out the race, he's flying up. P7 from 21st. A really great result for the British driver. Nearly got to his teammate. I mean, to say that, it was about 12 seconds, but a very solid result actually for Danny Rick to be that close to Verstappen. Good result for Danny Rick despite Leclerc being so high up. Lando Norris P7. Solid recovery from the grid penalties. Alonso P8. First points of the season for Alpine. Really happy for them because we haven't seen any Alpine points before this. 4 of them. That's what they get. That lifts them off the start mark before Mexico. What they needed. Shame for Alonso, of course. You know, he was P4 when we crashed out. Then he's just gone. Or was it P5? I can't remember now. Definitely fighting with Charles Leclerc. But yeah, he was definitely really up there and fighting and could have really taken a bit more. I'm surprised he lost out to Lando Norris in the end. Finished so far back on that 2-stopper, but it's a solid result for Alpine. I can't really complain, you know, because that's a really good result then. It's some points, and that's what they wanted this season, I think, after a disastrous sort of season before this. You know, first 8 races didn't go well. Vettel, P9. Good result on the 1-stopper. Executed it well, despite not really having the best of starts. 2 points for him and Aston Martin. Carlos Sainz rounds out the points with probably the worst of the recoveries. He started P19, but Norris, who started P21, got to 7th. He only made it to P10. But points for Carlos, he ain't really going to help him that much in getting past ourselves. Yuki Tsunoda misses out on the points only just. That's great for us as a team, with Lance Stroll P12 despite the low focus. Raikkonen dropped down to P13 after 8th on the grid for Alfa Romeo. Shame he couldn't take points today. Neither could Mick Schumacher, not really surprising that Haas. A fantastic result. P14, yes, started 6th, but gave it his all and got probably one of his best results of the season. Esteban Ocon, P15. Really poor there from the Alpine driver. It really makes Alonso's result look fantastic, considering he's dropped down to P15 when there's been 2 DNFs, so another poor result for Ocon. Robert made it up from P22 to 16th, you know. I'm happy with that. He finished ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi on the same strategy. Giovinazzi, 13th to 17th, you know. Considering he took the grid penalties and was, like, what, in a train with the likes of Raikkonen, Schumacher, Ocon and Giovinazzi. Well, on Ocon, Giovinazzi was off the back of it. You know, that's a really good result. I'm proud of him. Good result, Robert. Then we've got Antonio Giovinazzi, P17, as I said. Russell and Latifi, 18th and 19th for Williams. With Nikita Mazepin once again, and this time only the only car to be lapped in the race. Can't get me words out, but a bit of a shame for the Haas driver. Finishes behind both with the Williams. Gasly didn't make it there, neither did we, and the all-important standings. You can see Bottas needed 26 points of a lead to, well, 27 to guarantee he would win. I don't know with the wins and stuff whether it would be okay with 26. But he's got 38 to Checo Perez. He leads the Drivers' Championship from the Mexican, who has a 12-point lead on Max Verstappen here. That is certainly looking good for Red Bull to be taking P2 with one of their drivers. Hamilton sits 1 point behind after another dismal result today. Charles Leclerc catches back up to those boys, only 64 points off the lead in much slower machinery. Fantastic work from the Ferrari driver. In fact, he's pretty close to Hamilton, so a disaster for Hamilton, and he could elevate himself up into the top 4, similar with Max Verstappen. Then the best of the rest. Danny Ricciardo moves ahead of us. He sits now in P6, 7 points in front of ourselves. We sit P7, still really happy with that. Great if we could stay ahead of Sainz and Norris at Mexico. But those two equal on points, 43, after Carlos Sainz only taking one today and a great recovery from Lando. It's all going to be play for. All to play for when we get to the final round of the season. When you look at it, Danny Rick, only 7 points ahead of us. Sainz and Norris, only 6 points behind us. That is going to create... It's just setting you up perfectly for a fantastic Mexican Grand Prix. To be fair with you, I was a bit worried about this one, really. And I can see why now. But I'm buzzing for when we get to Mexico. Final round of the season. Gasly, P10, 35 points. You know, solid there from the midfield fight cars. Doing pretty well. He could catch up to Norris and Sainz with a fantastic result next time out. But looking solid for P10. Vettel extends his points tally to 19. P11 at the moment, looking solid for that, with Tsunoda further behind than he was before. 6 points. Now, Lance Stroll sits P13 with 7. And then Alonso joins the point scorers. He has 4. Ocon, the 2 Alphas, Williams, Hassers, and my teammate still yet to score. Your constructors standings then, and it's not decided just yet. Mercedes lead Red Bull by 37 points. And if Mercedes were to take a lot of grid penalties maybe next time out, it's very unlikely that Red Bull could win, but they're still mathematically in it, and it's not like it's 45 points, it's 37 points. Mercedes, though, very strong hold on the championship. Ferrari sit P3, quite comfortably there. They have a lead of 50 points over McLaren, so they have guaranteed P3. So we've got P3 guaranteed, we've got P4 currently as McLaren were 50 points behind, so that is guaranteed too. So it's Mercedes versus Red Bull for the Constructors title next time out in Mexico, looking very much in favour of Mercedes. Then, of course, Red Bull looking like P2. Ferrari guaranteed P3. McLaren guaranteed P4. We aren't guaranteed P5 by any means. AlphaTauri sit 1 point behind us after that. Neither team scored today. 2 DNFs between them. Of course, DNF for me, DNF for Gasly, and then Tsunoda and my teammate finishing out of the points. Means that we go into the season finale, 1 point between us. It is all to play for at Mexico for P5. P7, Aston Martin looking very comfortable with 26. Then Alpine have 4. Alfa Romeo, Williams, and Haas yet to score. That is your result then. Sadly for us today, a DNF. We don't make it to the end of the race with the first DNF of the season, and not even a mechanical one. But we push on to Mexico, the season finale, for what will hopefully be an exciting one. No championship fight for it, but a whole lot to settle with us versus AlphaTauri. In fact, no championship fight, means that P2 is under the spotlight, and so is our battle with AlphaTauri and the Drivers' Championship. That will be the main event next time. But what a race. Perez, your winner from Leclerc, and then your world champion for Season 1, Valtteri Bottas. We're going to leave it on that note there, with a lead of over 26 points. Bottas is champion. And that is it for today's video. If you guys have enjoyed it, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But I'll catch you next time for the Mexican quali in this career mode in a little while. But thanks a lot for watching. A disappointing one for us today, but really, had we not have crashed out there, I don't think we would have taken points. It would have just been a blatantly frustrating race. Really frustrating one. A shame for us, but it's going to happen at some point. We were going to make a mistake in a race. We made so many mistakes in quali. We were going to make a mistake in the race, and it was going to cost us. That's happened today. It's cost us, and first DNF of the season. But what a race, though. What a race. I really enjoyed seeing the results afterwards. With all this Verstappen flying up the order and Norris. But a disappointing one for us. We move on to Mexico. So there we have it. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. And I will catch you next time for Mexican GP qualifying. I can't wait, and I hope you guys can't wait for the season finale of Season 1 of My Team Career Mode.